Uh, Good morning, and thank you for this opportunity. I'm Ermelinda Shirinda, Commercial Director on CFM. CFM stands on Mozambique Port and Railways. So we do the management of the ports, and railways is a public entity representing the government on management of the ports and railways. We are in all country, from north to south, okay, and in all region. I mean, CFM is structured on 3 regions, which is north, center, and south. At the north, we also do the railway through Nakala Logistic and the ports of Pemba, Nakala. And when we come to center, it's where we have our Beta port connected to, on the rail, on the, to Zimbabwe side, through Zambia, Malawi, and at the center, which is the main focus for this subject, where we have the Goba and the Risanu-Gasha corridor, the Goba going through Eswatini, Risanu-Gasha linking to South Africa, and we also in South having Limpopo, which we call Limpopo, which take us to Zimbabwe and through Zambia. So it's how CFM is structured. We are here to showing up and ensure that we're still committed with the corridor and with our customer. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll come back to you in terms of what will be your expectation from your colleagues to improve CFM. We'll come back to you. Mandisa, who is Northeast Corridor, and why do you think your corridor plays a certain role in interacting with them?
Thank you for the opportunity, and good morning, everyone. I think the Northeast Corridor is one of the 6 corridors within the rail division of Transnet. I'm sure that you've heard about that. It is on the eastern side of the country, interacts directly with various countries in the SADC region, Zim being part of those, Mozambique, Eswatini, and so it goes. So the Northeast Corridor is then charged with facilitating, economic growth in the eastern, side of the country, while collaborating with all these, countries in pursuit of regional integration. For us in the Northeast Corridor, it is clear that collaboration and partnership is the way, because we can't reach the port of Richards Bay without going through Swaziland. And we service the hinterland in Palaburwa, where most of the, the bulk commodities, originate, the likes of magnetite, rock phosphate, and then also some vermiculite from time to time. But also the interest from our customers is not only to export through the port of Richards Bay. At times they want to export through the port of Mozambique, which then presents an opportunity for us as Transnet to support all these systems in the interest of serving our customers better and growing these economies while pursuing Transnet's objectives. So once again, for us to get to the port of Maputo, we have to enter Mozambique. And therefore, there is no trip that we complete to any port, be it Richards Bay or Mozambique, without interacting with my colleagues across the table here. And I think with that, our responsibility is to make sure that the markets are served, at the right levels through this collaboration, such that these entities that are involved and the 3 countries involved in this case, they all achieve their set objectives. Thank you.
Thank you, Mandisa. We'll come back with the collaboration and the partnership that you have just highlighted. Mr. Dlamini, you becomes somebody that plays a business integrator between the two railways countries, which is CFM and TFR. How do you see your value add in improving the services between the two countries, over and above giving us the Eswatini background of what do you stand, but add a little bit the value creation that you do or you will expect between the two countries?
Thank you, Chair, and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, I will acknowledge the two ladies on my left and on my right. Yes, I've been reminded that it is Women's Month, so I will say that without sounding controversial, but what I will say is that behind every successful railway, there's women. I have found that they're quite resilient. They do, they work very hard, very good at multitasking and so on. So without them, I don't think these railways will function, as you can see. But anyway, having said that, Eswatini Railways plays a major role in that we provide an important link between the railways. The Eswatini is a land-linked country. I've been corrected to say that it's a land-linked country. We're not landlocked, so we have an output to the north and to the south. So the north, we cover businesses that from Palabora, so the magnetite, the rock phosphate, the vermiculite ore, and so on, that traverses from the north to the ports of Richards Bay. We facilitate that. Without that gap being filled by Eswatini Railways, then I don't think customers will be happy, because it will mean that there's a break in the system. So it is a very crucial role. What I can say is that I'll just maybe tell you a story. I was doing some work up in Mozambique, and when we had a driver, this is a long time ago, we had a driver, and then we got to this huge river which we had to cross. So we didn't know how we were going to do it. The car couldn't go across. The bridge was there. And then we started looking around and said, how do people get across this river? And then we saw that there were motorbikes. So I think my first motorbike ride was when we had to cross that river because we were on the center line going towards Malawi. So I'm sharing that example just to illustrate that with Eswatini Railways bridging that gap, it just means that you are able to carry on with the business of the railways. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Lamin. Let's move into partnership, collaboration. Mandisa, why do you believe that the partnership can change the way you are doing the business? What will be your challenges that your corridor will expect or suffer in the absence of the partnership and the collaboration between these two railways?
Thank you, Chairperson. Chairperson, allow me to start with a bit of context. I looked at the theme for this conference, and it says investing in African railways for sustainable development in the continent. Put simply, for me, what it means is that indeed there is a need to grow the economy, in this continent, while we are improving the quality of lives of all stakeholders that exist in this continent. And everything we do has got to be with a minimal impact on the environment. Now, my challenge starts when I realize that the complex as in the Palaburwa that I spoke about has huge reserves of commodities that need to move, to be exported. And the other one I did not even mention is the Wheatbank Silport area, where your coals come from, where your chrome, and some ferrochrome smelters as well are. Huge growth opportunities in that space. Just from the South African side, when we look at the chrome demand, we're looking at something like 15 million tons that the customers would like to move annually. And I think, you look at what we are pursuing this year, it is below 7 million tons. That tells me that there's an opportunity. Then I go further and I look at the information at the port of Maputo, where Maputo says of the 31.2 million tons handled in the port last year, 61% of that got there by road, and only the balance by rail. That says to me, in the rail sector, here is an opportunity. Road is having our lunch, and in the process, we are becoming unsustainable. It is definitely not in pursuit of sustainable development objectives. Because as we all know, with more road, transport, traffic and all of that, then you're talking congestion, you're talking accidents, you're talking, emissions, air emissions. But when we talk rail, it's benefits all the way. We bring the economies of scale, and therefore it should be a no-brainer to move volumes by rail that are rail-friendly to the ports. And from an emissions point of view, we're much better compared to that. And by the way, we run on the railway line. We don't congest borders or anything. So ideally, as the continent, we should be looking towards forming partnerships that are going to enable that. Right now, the opportunity has been missed because at times we only rely on our own capacity. And where we have constraints, then we limit and hold the economy at ransom. But if we were to collaborate with the other strategic partners, with even the trucking companies, something bigger could come out of that. So for us as the Northeast Corridor, we're looking forward to more collaboration with the railways, which is what we've started doing, in my era, maybe there before, but we are aggressively driving that, to make sure that, we are aligned at target setting to start with, so that the markets that we serve, because the customer may be in Palaburwa, and that same customer is actually talking to Transnet, is talking to CFM, and so it goes. So when we come and we are aligned, then we are more organized, then chances are the alignment at execution level as well, is likely to succeed. When alignment at execution happens, then you see more volumes moving. And with the growth opportunities that I spoke about, then lies an opportunity to even collaborate in terms of capacity creation, looking at the insights into the future. So for us, indeed, not just the strategic partners as in the railways, same with Eswatini on the way to Richards Bay, very much important that we align, we grow together, and we create capacity together. As we drive efficiencies, we are together in this. So the end-to-end management of a value chain is what we are about, because it's quite difficult for us to limit ourselves to the border when we know very well that the commodities we move have got to traverse the other countries. So that's why it's quite important for us to collaborate and form strong partnerships. And maybe, Chair, just one last one. I mentioned the trucking sector. And I think this one is something to be driven strongly because I think right now in South Africa, it looks like there's competition between rail and road. There shouldn't be. For a country that wants to decarbonize its economy, there shouldn't be. Because long distance trucking is a killer. We all know it. All right? But we know for a fact that the railways present the solution. Therefore, we need to get to a point where we sit around the table and come up with an intermodal solution that brings the truck to play its role from the pit, if it's a mine, to a consolidation point, from the consolidation point all the way to the port on rail. That is a win-win for the country, and it drives sustainable development. Thanks.
Thank you. CFM, will you totally disagree with what Mandisa is saying? If no, what do you see the partnership enhancing or changing the way CFM is doing things?
Thank you. Actually, I fully agree. She took some words from me when she touched the percentage that we are receiving at the port of Maputo, which is the linking of this corridor of Resanugasha, whereby we have to change. We are tasked even from the government, from Mozambique, even for South Africa, in order to work on the plan where we change this level. Instead of 32% being rail and 68 road, so we have to change this pyramid. How do we do without integrating, without coordinating ourselves is quite impossible. So we feel that, and we believe that this cooperation, alignment, integration, it will help the corridor. I mean, it helped the corridors. And when we talk Richards Bay and Maputo as well, we can look like they are two competitors, but they are not, are very complementary. And the cake is there for both and even more. So we have to replan ourselves, what we are not doing today, what we need to do in order to achieve the goals. The demand is way high from what at the moment probably we are responding. So we have to integrate, we have to align, and then find a solution to the corridor, to the ground of the economy. What that will be translated, what we have been spoken here is innovation of technologies, is acquisition of more rolling stock, is a modernization of the infrastructure, is a partner even with the private sector in order for us to be ready to respond what is the market at the moment. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dlamini, you seems to be in a position whereby you move the traffic for TFR down to Richards Bay. What will be the things that the Eswatini would like to change to improve the services that you render to Mandisa? Same applies going to Mozambique. What are the things in your priority that says, if I were to achieve 1, 2, 3, my life, I will retire as saying, I have achieved. So that if you tell them, they will go back and says, Dlamini wants 1, 2, 3, therefore let me change.
Thank you, Chair. I think I would probably stretch the conversation to beyond CFM and TFR. I think it starts with the customer. So we have the mines up north. They have vast quantities of minerals that they would like to transport. So I think getting the needs of the customer is priority number one, right? Because then we have to fit around what the customer wants. Yes, TFR and CFM, they're not my customers, they're actually my partners. Because they have what drives my colleague here, Mandisa, is the commodities that, whether it's Fosco or PMC, wants to move. And same thing with Amalinda here on the Mozambican side. So without this partnership, without this friendship, they're my partners, they're my friends, it's got to be that relationship to be such that I know what makes her tick, and I also know what makes Amalinda tick. So for instance, this morning, she was relating to an incident that happened. She says, this incident happened in your section, Dlamini. So there was a minor derailment, one axle. But he says, it affected my trains for 24 hours. So I know her pain. So if that's the pain that she is feeling, then how much more the customer then? Yeah. So which means that whatever I do, it should be such that we have this seamless service, and I understand them. So the interaction, the constant dialogue, not teams, walking, going to where she is. I mean, I don't know how many times I've been to maybe CFM or had a conversation with them. So so for me, it's just to make sure that that dialogue happens between the customer and us, and we sit around the table to say, how do we get the customer, how do we make them happy? These happy customers are the drivers of these economies. The corridor concept is, I liken it to a river. So wherever this river flows, wherever it meanders, it brings life to the communities, and by extension the country, and also the region and the world. You go back in history, you had the Silk routes, you had the spice routes, and how did that happen? I don't think there were formal contracts, but there was just understanding that we need to move. If I take sugar to India, for instance, then I'll get tea back to Asia. It's not, but there was a whole economy along that route. There were hotels. We have seen it along the corridors. For instance, when we started moving coal, I'm going to touch on coal just because there's also this intermodal. I think the next speakers will be talking more on that. But we have seen a lot of businesses mushrooming around just that. You go to Oshuk Border Post now, there's a new shopping complex, there's even KFC, there's even the ladies selling millies, roasted millies to the truckers. Instead of spending one day there, now because what they normally do is they'll go get their produce in the morning. Instead of going to the market once, they probably go there 3 times because they run out of stock. So all I'm saying is it's not telling my partners what they should do to make me happy, but it's a question of what is it that we can do to ensure that the customer gets to move their goods to port or to the markets overseas in time and at the quantities that they would like to. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks. In preparing to close, because we can discuss this until tomorrow. Some few years back, there was a JOC that was opened in Maputo. And I was there, and one of the strategic intent was, back to your point, Mr. Dlamini, was to improve the customer service. In other words, bringing the 3 countries in one room to speed up the reaction. Has that concept worked? If yes, what more can we do jointly as countries? Because there was commitment from the 3 ministers in Maputo. Is it working? If yes, but how can we make it even more better, CFM?
Thank you. Yes, we think yes, it works. What we can still do maybe to improve that coordination, the GOCs on the operation level inform to the tactical level. So all the bottlenecks that may help in terms of inefficiency, because the GOC is aiming to communicate to all stakeholders, to coordinate the operation in order to minimize the cost, even in terms of management deviation. So that working well also will inform on the tactical level what needs to be done to resolve the inefficiency on the corridor. And the tactical line, the tactical level will also inform the ESCO level what needs to be done if there needs some intervention, even if it's in terms of investment. At the moment, the GOCS is still working. There are also committees under TFR, ISWATIN, and CFM and the ports, which are working through in order to align in terms of what is the corridor needs, what investment, if they need to do some at the port side, on the CFM. So in certain level that all comes together. We won't succeed, for instance, if we, CFM duplicate the line, and then at the end, we have a bottleneck somehow, Comat Port can't respond on the same level, or the port as well can't. So all those activities are aligned between all role players in order to bring to the same level. We are now talking about the corridor Maputo, for instance, to do 12.3 million tons per year. How the terminal will respond to that? If there are bottleneck, what needs to be done and when? What needs to be done on the CFM side, on the TFR side, on the port? So that is continue to happen between the corridor in order to bring a kind of integrated system that we are talking about. And then with that alignment, we can then not having gaps and then be able to respond on time on the system.
Okay, thanks. I think you have touched almost some of the points on the investment, the futuristic thinking, and all this, so we won't repeat. It looks like you were reading my mind. So, Mr. Dlamini, over and above what she has mentioned, how do you see the Eswatini value adding to the JOC? And what would you like to see being done differently to improve the efficiency for your customers? Because you have been saying, without saying it, that the customer in your mind is the king. So what is it that you want to see changing or being added to the GOC?
Thank you, Chair. I think so in its current form, I mean, the idea was, idea of having a GOC is a very good one. But times have moved on, right? Now we are talking technology, we are talking, the future. Now the future is digital. I think we should come to a point where the customer, when they're able to interact, so the information that is gathered by the GOC should be in a form that is accessible to the customer. The customer should be able to know or track where their consignment is and what the problems are in real time. So we are, when I say, where the railway goes, there will be this, there should be some enhancements around it. So this is our opportunities, even for, I don't know whether there's consultants in here or whether there's contractors in here, but or IT experts. But this is an opportunity that is begging to say they should come close to us as railways and go like, what are your needs? What is it? If I'm a customer and I'm sitting somewhere, maybe in Mongolia, it doesn't matter where I'm sitting, but on my laptop or on my smartphone, I should be able to tell the exact location of my consignment, because there's that interaction. So that is my view of things. Yes, I could go into other things, but I think that the role of the JOC is to make sure that information gets to us, or get to everybody in time, so that decisions can be made on the consignment, whether there's a bottleneck or anything like that. And then also, any support systems that ensure that there's this seamless movement of cargo, they also have access to this, so that they can align themselves and have the resources ready. Yeah, I can go on and on and on, but I think in a nutshell, that's what I would contribute. Thanks.
Thank you. She wants to add. I'm going to give you 1 minute to add.
Yes. I did not want to be repetitive, because yesterday when we spoke customers matter, we mentioned the rail to port is how we call the system that we are working on. We integrated, we launched that in May in Maputo, where at the moment we integrate a system between the port of Maputo and the CFM, where all of us can see same things at the same time, where the trains are moving from Komati, if there are any stoppage, if they be offloaded. And that window, now we are working process to integrate with TFR. The goal is to put visibility from pit to port and put the window to the customer. As Mr. Lamin was mentioned, the customer must have the same information where in terms of movement. So that, I think, will also help, and the work of GOC will be much easier, and everybody will be able to monitor and to monitor the movements of their cargo. Thank you.
Mandisa, your last point. You have been given as TFR 193 million tons, and as a northeast corridor, you've got a target that you need to achieve. in contributing to the 193. Your critical success factor in achieving that lies to these colleagues. What will be your last request from them to say, guys, I need to go back to my colleagues and says, I've got a confirmation from Eswatini, I've got a confirmation from CFM that come rain or shine, we will achieve this target. Over to you.
All right. Thank you for the question. Once again, I think let me just add the Northeast Corridor view. Of the 193 million tons that, Transnet, is pursuing this year, 21.6 of those have got to be delivered by the Northeast Corridor. Maybe what's great is that back in the ranch, we have aligned already, because through the governance structures that Emelinda was referring to, we have met, we have looked at what it takes to deliver that. Maputo Corridor knows that we've got a 12.5 million tons, the balance through Swaziland and the coal line. So part of that is to then look at problem solving for the pain points, because looking at the journey towards delivering the 21.6 million tons, based on how we fared in the first quarter of the financial year, it's gonna be a tough one, but it's doable. And big ticket items is that in our corridors, we are affected significantly by security incidents. And this is particularly on our side as Transnet in South Africa, given that we've got electrified lines. So cable theft is not helping at all, delaying trains, missing connections, leading to serious volume losses. But then also the whole issue of theft of goods in transit, which then cuts across, is something that we really need to overcome. So that is one of the things we said we need to deal with and overcome. Fortunately, some of the customers, and thank you very much for that, they've come to party to problem solve with us. Put the shoulder on the wheel to solve for these security issues. The second one is the issue of derailments. I think throughout the corridors, we have seen that. In quarter one, we've had, quite a number of, not too many, but severe. We had a few, but severe incidents. You'd see a corridor closed down for like 4 days while we're trying, to recover. So as a result, our safety teams are hard at work. We've even agreed at the industry meetings that we are going to be delivering a safety improvement plan to the customers, because they are all interested to know, how are you guys going to deal with this? But then we're not just addressing purely from just the plan. Even the way we do things. Recently, we organized a trolley trip for our engineering teams, which started in Palaburo, all the way to Maputo, all the way through Swaziland to Richards Bay, with all the parties involved, the engineers from Mozambique, from Eswatini, from Transnet. So that is about building, teams that are going to be effective or even more effective going forward. To share, lessons, what works, but also to confront the reality where you get to understand what each country is grappling with, and therefore align expectations accordingly, and then inform action plans that are realistic to solve the problems. So, it's going beyond just plans on the table, the way we do things. We even say, yes, back at the ranch, I'm TFR, I'm Northeast Corridor. But when we meet in our meetings, all of us, we are Maputo Corridor, we are the corridor to Richards Bay. And therefore, it's about optimizing the corridor. So continuous improvement teams are hard at work to drive the cycle times down, because we've identified that end-to-end view that Emelinda was talking to. It's going to help with the MIS. But currently, we've got the value stream maps showing us exactly the journey from Wheatbank all the way to Maputo, or from Palabura all the way through Swaziland to Richards Bay. And we know those pain points, and we're going to be solving for those. So what's going to determine the success is the effectiveness of what we do and follow through. And we've got the commitment from the partners here to do exactly that. Thank you.
Thank you. I think let's give them a round of applause. I'll leave something out of them to think about it. It looks like CFM knows exactly what Eswatini is doing, and Eswatini knows exactly what TFR is doing. Can we propose something? We swap their role. Mandisa becomes the CE of Eswatini, and Eswatini becomes the CE of CFM. But on a lighter note, to summarize what they've been talking about, which they are all agreeing, the customer is key. So they want to service the customers. Number two, it's collaboration. The critical success factor in running their business lies on their collaboration. They didn't stop there. Each of them, they then says, there is a cross-functional team within my railway that I'm using. And I've empowered that cross-functional team to work with CFM, to work with Eswatini, to work with TFR. Ladies and gentlemen, we can talk until tomorrow, but I like what you have done. And Mandisa, just to remind the audience, your colleague will touch some of the stuff that you didn't bring here from the corridor movement under North-South corridor. So you can, some of the stuff that you didn't share here, you can still have an opportunity to engage with them. Ladies and gentlemen, let's give them a round of applause as they walk down.